As has been the case for literally like the last 3 to 4 months, there is a ridiculous amount of deals on the PlayStation Store, and in today's video, I want to highlight the best deals available on open world games. Yes, there are some super cheap open world games, and I want to go over 10 great deals. There's even more open world games on sale than this, but a lot of them are very notable titles. They might not be as good deals, whatever the case may be. You know, all of the deals to a certain extent are very, very good right now. But hey, I'm not trying to make a 4-hour long video, so without further ado, let's go over these 10 and let's get right into it. I want to kick things off with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the Gold Edition, 75% off for $24.99. Look, while I have been pretty vocal about saying that I prefer the olden style of Assassin's Creed games over the new Origin and Odyssey wave of AC titles, I think I'm in the minority on that, and the majority of you guys like this style of game. I appreciate this style of game as well, and the Odyssey Gold Edition for $25 is a ridiculous deal for a variety of different reasons. First of all, Assassin's Creed Odyssey alone is a content-filled experience that you can spend an obscene amount of time into. Ubisoft rolled out a lot of updates for the game, added more content to it. It's ridiculous how much content is in Odyssey. However, things get even better when you include the Season Pass. You get access to 2 new story arcs with 3 episodes each, and on top of that, you get Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered. Guys, Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered released as a standalone game for $40. I don't know who had the idea to do that and then also put it in the Gold Edition. That was just a little bit funny. I hope none of you guys got duped into buying AC3 Remastered standalone. But nonetheless, in actuality, this gets you 3 games. You get Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you get the Season Pass for that game, you get AC3 Remastered, and that also includes Assassin's Creed Liberation, which isn't a very good game, but nonetheless, you get that too. It originally was a Vita title. The amount of content you get for $25 is ridiculous, and this is an easy recommendation. Next up, here's a game that I always like to go to bat for whenever it's on sale, or whenever I have the chance to talk about it, and that is Dying Light The Following Enhanced Edition. At this point, Dying Light is one of the early PlayStation 4 titles. It released all the way back in, I believe, 2015, and then a year later, we had Dying Light The Following Enhanced Edition. Now, if you compare Dying Light to a lot of the other open world games I'm going to mention on this list, it's not as grandiose, it's not as quote-unquote epic of an open world, like it's not a gigantic open world. However, it is an awesome first-person action survival game set in a post-apocalyptic open world that, yes, while smaller in scale, it has some great gameplay elements, including the parkour gameplay that is top-notch. That's probably one of the standout gameplay elements of the title. You throw in some fantastic visuals, some great combat, some zombies, and all of that comes together for a rather great game. And for this to be on sale, 30% off isn't steep, but given the fact that it did transition into a PlayStation Hits title, $14 for it is a great deal, and I would highly recommend it, especially because we're going to be coming up on Dying Light 2, hopefully later this year. It was supposed to be coming out in the spring, saw a little bit of a delay. Let's hope that it's out before the year's out. Alright, next up, Batman has been a little bit absent in the sense of video games. However, Batman Arkham Knight is still a game that's worthwhile, and I highly recommend you guys to play. It is 50% off for $9.99. Now, obviously, if you haven't played the other 2 Batman Arkham games, I would wait for the Return to Arkham collection to go on sale. We've seen that as low as $5. Pick that up and then transition into Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight is a really good game. The only issue of contention that most people had was some of the Batmobile sections. Some people didn't like the narrative as much either, but overall, the good definitely outweighs the bad in Arkham Knight. You've got a pretty big open world here. You've got some great visuals. The combat is that Batman combat that you know and love, and it is phenomenal. For $9.99, it's great. They typically do have the Gold Edition, or whatever edition they call it, with the additional content on sale. If you do see that on sale, maybe get that instead, but the base game for $9.99 is a really good buy, and I'd strongly give that a recommendation. Next up, we have Middle-earth Shadow of War, the Definitive Edition, which is 70% off for $17.99. May I add that Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor is also on sale. I believe that's at $9.99 or $11.99, something like that. Shadow of War is a great game and a considerable improvement upon Shadow of Mordor, and with this being the Definitive Edition, you can experience the epic open world brought to life by the award-winning Nemesis system. Of course, the gameplay is great, really features that satisfying gameplay that I associate Batman Arkham with. I'd associate a game like Mad Max with that as well. Shadow of War, from a gameplay standpoint, just like Shadow of Mordor, very satisfying to play, and with the Definitive Edition, you get a lot of expansions as well. Desolation of Mordor story expansion, Blade of Galderal story expansion, Slaughter Tribe Nemesis expansion, and the Outlaw Tribe Nemesis expansion. All of that comes together for a content-filled experience that's definitely worth the $18, 30% of the original asking price, so it's 70% off. Highly recommend that one. Next up, here's a game that I thoroughly enjoyed, although was a little bit disappointing to me in the same token, and that is Mafia 3, which is 75% off for $9.99. Look, my expectations and anticipation for Mafia 3 were colossally high that honestly, I probably had my expectations a little bit too high. I loved Mafia 2, I adored that game, and that game was a little bit more linear. When I heard Mafia 3 was coming out, it's gonna transition into an open world New Orleans. Inherently, I got really stoked, and while the game came out and it was a good game, didn't quite hit the threshold that I wanted it to, still very much worth it, and now you're not paying the $60 that I paid all the way back in 2016. How much are you paying? Well, you're paying $9.99, and for that, it's great. Some of the gameplay elements are a little bit redundant, however, the voice acting, story, and ambiance of the game and atmosphere, those elements of Mafia 3 are incredibly strong, and there is a free demo available, so if you want to go that route and check out the free demo before you buy the game, by all means do that, but $10 for it is really good, and overall a quality open world title here. Here's another early PlayStation 4 title, much like Dying Light, that you guys might have missed out on, but I am a very big fan of this franchise. Infamous Second Son, only 25% off, but much like Dying Light, it has transitioned into a PlayStation Hits title, so $14.99 after the discount. Infamous Second Son was a really good game. I would probably say it's the weakest of the three main Infamous games. I just thought so highly of Infamous 1 and 2 from a narrative standpoint. I don't think Second Son, while the narrative is good, not quite as strong as the first two titles, but the open world is stunning here. You've got a lot of content here as well. Some of that content gets a little bit repetitive, but I would say overall it's a fantastic open world to explore. So the superpower open world genre kind of goes together really well. And of course, you have a lot of moral decisions to make throughout Infamous Second Son as well. Right now, Sucker Punch seems to be busy with Ghost of Tsushima, but man, I'd love them or some other studio, some other first-party Sony studio to pick up Infamous, because I think there's a lot of potential in Infamous as a franchise going forward, not just with Second Son and the characters present in there. I just thought the Infamous IP was rather good, and I hope to see it make a comeback at some point, with it being a 2014 title and a rather early game in the PlayStation 4's life. Go back and check it out, especially if you picked up your PS4 more recently. You probably missed out on this game, but I thought it was a quality title, and maybe I'm just touting it a little bit heavily because I want to see a follow-up, but nonetheless, it's a great game, and I'd highly recommend it. Next up, here's a game that I probably don't have to spend much time on. I think everybody and their mother owns it at this point, but The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition is 70% off for $14.99. Whenever The Witcher 3 is available for $15 and it's the Complete Edition, look, it's a great buy, and if you don't own it, you should really own it. You get the base Witcher 3 game, you get Blood and Wine, you get Hearts of Stone, you get a lot of content, that's all I'm saying. Witcher 3, the base game, is already loaded with content. You throw in the DLC, man, you're making a content-filled game, even more content-filled. Great story here, and of course, Witcher is getting a little bit more attention right now thanks to the Witcher Netflix series. How that Netflix series extrapolated into Witcher just becoming more and more popular was really shocking to me. Look, I thought it would raise the popularity a little bit. I did not think Witcher 3 was gonna have like kind of a second coming and a resurgence just based off a Netflix series, and CD Projekt Red was just chilling and they're like, okay, we're gonna sell a bunch more copies of this game. Probably why Witcher 3 consistently is going on sale, to parlay off that success, but good on them. It's a phenomenal game. And hell, at this point, they even put it on the Nintendo Switch, and that version of the game being on the Switch is pretty good. PlayStation 4 version works well enough, 70% off for $14.99, but look, if they can make it with a PlayStation 5 update, man, oh man, that would be fantastic, because there are some technical limitations here, but overall, it's still a quality experience, especially if you're playing on the PS4 Pro. Next up, we have No Man's Sky, 55% off for $22.49. Whenever people talk about a game is absolutely dead and there is no coming back for a certain game, I point you games like Final Fantasy XIV, and I point you games like No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky, when it came out back in 2019, man, this was a colossal train wreck. I was very disappointed by it, but look at it now, all these years later, and it's not been like that long of a time. I believe it's been 3.5 years, but it has made a insurmountable comeback. I did not think the game was going to make this great of a comeback. With all of the updates that Hello Games has rolled out, it has become much more of an expansive experience. Is it perfect? Absolutely not, but what Hello Games has done from a free DLC standpoint, not even free DLC, free updates rather, has been rather substantial, and it's become a quality-filled experience, especially because now in 2020, you're not paying the $59.99 that I paid back in August of 2016. You're paying $22 and change, and that is a great price. If you have PlayStation VR, it's got a quality VR component as well. All of that comes together for a variety-filled experience in No Man's Sky, and I'd give that a strong recommendation, especially at this price. Next up, we have a more recently released game, and maybe this will be a little bit of a controversial recommendation, but Need for Speed Heat is 50% off for $29.99. Look, I know all this generation, it was really fun to meme on the Need for Speed franchise because there haven't been a lot of great Need for Speed titles. Need for Speed Rivals on launch day of the PS4 was decent, but then the subsequent Need for Speed games were not that great. Need for Speed Heat, on the other hand, I would say is a pretty good game. Again, not perfect, but if you want a quality arcade racer, which seems to be a little bit few and far between these days, it's a little bit unfortunate for PlayStation guys, but outside of like Wipeout Omega Collection, there haven't been a lot of phenomenal ones. Need for Speed Heat, while I wouldn't say it's phenomenal, it is very good. $59.99 might have been a little bit steep of a price point, but at $29.99, okay, if you're wanting an arcade racer, I think Heat fits the bill quite nicely. It should be noted that I imagine that at some point this game is going to get added to the EA Access Vault lineup of games. It's not really me, making a bold prediction or anything. That's just generally how things go with EA titles. I would imagine by the end of the year, Heat would transition into an EA Access title, so that's always something you got to keep in mind. However, are you going to wait until a game gets added to a subscription service, or do you want to play the game or do you want to just buy the game and play it right away? For some of you guys, I know that subscription services adding more to your Plus subscription isn't really up your wheelhouse, or in your wheelhouse rather, so yeah, that's a decision I'll leave you guys to make. And lastly, Nier Automata Game of the YoRHa Edition is 50% off for $19.99. Look, Nier Automata is phenomenal. We talked about NFS Heat maybe not hitting that phenomenal threshold. Nier Automata is absolutely in the phenomenal threshold. In my opinion, this is among the top 2 to 3 JRPGs of this generation, and any other generation, I think you would have an easy claim for it to be number 1. I just think this generation has been kind of stacked. When you have Persona 5 releasing in the same gen, it's a little bit hard to beat that, but Nier Automata is a fantastic game done by Platinum Games, and if you know what they're all about and you know that you're getting some excellent action-oriented gameplay that is so satisfying to play, it's a joy to play. But what is also great about this game is it retains all of the elements that made the first Nier compelling. Now, what didn't make the first Nier game compelling was the gameplay, but that is completely remedied in Automata thanks to Platinum. And then you've got the great music, you've got the great presentation, you've got the interesting storytelling that, yeah, it's a little bit hard to follow at first, but once you play through it, and you play through it a couple times, it really comes together by the end, and you get an incredible experience out of it. The Game of the YoRHa Edition doesn't give you a ton of extra stuff. You get some in-game items, some dynamic themes, a set of PlayStation 4 avatars, nothing to really write home about, but at $19.99, Nier Automata is an excellent buy, and I would highly recommend it. For whatever reason, if you did miss out on it, please remedy that ASAP. Even if you haven't played a lot of Japanese titles, this one is so satisfying from a gameplay standpoint. Yes, it does have some Japanese presentation elements that might be a little bit off-putting, but the gameplay music is so good that I think even those of you that are committed to Western gaming experiences are really gonna enjoy it. So that's my sell job on Nier Automata. Hopefully I did pretty well, thanks Square Enix. And that's gonna conclude this video. Again, a lot of great deals available on the PlayStation Store right now. We went over 10 open world games, but there were a litany of other open world titles. There was like Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition, RDR 2's on sale, GTA 5's on sale, more games that I noticed, but I obviously couldn't mention everything, so I stuck to 10. Far Cry 5 is also on sale, I see that right now, so a couple of other ones to note real quickly. That's gonna conclude this video. Definitely sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.